Hey, so I wanted to do just a quick little Galaxy tutorial just to kind of show you how to build. It's kind of like a Galaxy 101, how to build the Galaxy so that it kind of has depth and looks the way you want it to look. So give me just a second here. All right, so firstly, a lot of artists use different things to make texture. You can use these little sea sponges. You can use, personally, this is my favorite. This is what helps me make the best galaxies, are these little guys. These are craft brushes from Michaels. They're the Martha Stewart collection, and there's different sizes. I use the large one when I'm doing really large pieces, and then obviously I'll do the smaller ones. But I like that they're round. They're very coarse, so it makes for a really good dry brushing, and we can talk about that as well. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you how I start. I start with a black background. So I didn't even paint the whole piece of paper black. I just kind of wanted to show the texturizing part. Now, the key to a really good depth of a galaxy when you're using acrylic paint is less is more. So a little bit of paint goes a long, long way. Because what you're doing is the sky is already black. So what you're doing is you're basically just tinting the galaxy colors into the sky. So use very little. Even this is probably too much paint. So I'm just literally putting very, very, very little. So the colors I chose are deep violet, primary blue, and a light or medium magenta. I'm using Liquitex Basics because personally this stuff is awesome for anything that you want a translucent color, because they're not super opaque paints, which means translucent, you can see through it a little bit better. Opaque means it's going to be super thick and solid. So like this, for instance, heavy body acrylic is going to be super solid, super opaque, really good stuff. So let's do this. So I'm going to use a sponge just for the sake of using sponges. So this sponge is a little sea sponge. You can buy a pack of these at Michael's for like a couple bucks. I start with the darkest color. Darkest color is going to be my purple. So I'm going to just dab in just a touch of this purple. Literally just enough to kind of stain my sponge. I'm spreading it out because I'm kind of rolling my sponge into the paint. I don't want it to be super saturated. What we're doing is a dry brushing technique. So it's just enough on there to make some color. So can't really see the purple all too well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a touch of white to my purple so that I can get that purple to show up a little bit. You can use a lighter purple if you have it on hand, but I'm just gonna do this the easy way right now and mix it. But I'm really wanting to keep this violet purple, just wanting to add just a little bit of white to it so that I can make it show up. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of stamp this on here, kind of rolling it around as I do it. See how it's very faint? We want it to be faint. We don't want it to be obnoxious on there because we want it to look realistic. So I'm going back in. I grabbed a little bit more of the darker purple because I'm wanting it to fade a little bit more. Just going to kind of add a little bit up in here. It's very, very faint. I'm talking very minimal paint that we're using here. All right. Adding just a touch more of that white to the purple. And I'm getting a touch more of this purple in here. I'm talking like this is super, super little amount. See, look, very, very little. Okay, so I just kind of make clouds with this. And all right, so there's the purple. I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the blue and the pink, but very faint. Again, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take a little bit of this blue, spread it out on my paper plate, dip into it. I'm keeping that purple on the sponge. Okay, very, very little. There's more on my finger than there is on the sponge. All right, see how I'm just kind of going up the side of it? I'm not going right on top of the purple, I'm going kind of to the side. Okay, going back in, grabbing a touch more of the blue, kind of going down the side of it. Because we want it very faint, but you'll still see that beautiful, beautiful colors in it. I'm adding a little bit more blue here. Okay, very, very dry. Look at that blue, isn't it pretty? Throw some in up here. Sorry for shaking the camera everywhere. This is what is called stippling in the technical art world. You're making dots, so to speak, but we're making much larger dots. Okay, so I'm going to do just a little bit more of this blue. Might even bring some in right through here. Now a little bit of this blue, I'm going to put a little bit here with my finger. I'm going to touch just a little bit of that white. Mix it around. Get a little bit of it on my sponge. I don't want a lot because it's going to lighten it up a little bit. See that? Just a very faint amount. So this is the technique that is used when people antique furniture. It's called dry brushing. So you're literally taking color, but very faintly, and adding it to the edges of furniture to make it look antiqued. Most of the time you're using a black or a brown or something like that. All right, so we've got some blue, we got some purple. The pink may even look a lot like this purple when we get to it. So I'm just kind of dabbing that in there. Again, sorry about the camera shaking everywhere. All right. All right, so we got a little bit there. Now the pink, making sure my finger's dry. Take just very little of this guy because this pink's going to show up really good. Okay, very little. You can barely see it. It's going to just highlight some of this. Take a little bit on my finger again. Wipe it over here. Dab it because you don't want to dab like globs of paint on this thing. All right, let's see if I can get a little. Sorry that I'm breathing into the camera like a serial killer right now. The camera is literally like right in front of my face as I'm talking to you guys. All right, so I've got just a little bit to make some depth. Little highlight, little lowlights. Think about hair coloring. Highlights and lowlights. You put blonde in for the highlights. You usually put a brown or a copper in for your lowlights. All right. So that is literally it. That is what your background will look like. Super faint, super pretty. I didn't even use all that paint. I told you we wouldn't even use all that. So it's super conservative. And then we got Galaxy Fingers. Okay, so here's what I do for splatter. I take these little cute cups from, I think I got them from Dollar Tree. You get like 20 in a pack for $1. And good old faithful, a fan brush. This little guy's been through some splatter. Put a little bit of white paint. I put my white acrylic paint in there and I spray in some water. I've already done this. and then I stir it around. And you want it to be a drippy consistency, maybe even a touch more, usually about 50-50, so 50% water, 50% paint. Okay, so I'm dabbing some of this paint off because trust me when I say you have way more than you're gonna need. Now some people use toothbrushes and that's fine, it works. I prefer this. I get most of the paint off, there's still plenty in there. The more paint that you have on this brush when you go to do your tapping, to do the splatter, to make the stars, the larger the dots are going to be. Which means, in reality, it depends on how big your painting is. This is a super small painting. I want super small dots to make my stars because that's going to be more realistic. If I have super big globs of dots of stars, it's not going to look realistic because we've got a very distant sky, so we're not going to have stars that are going to be huge. So I hold it about right up here and I just start tapping. And you'll see some of the stars start to appear. And as you can see, you can do it like this. See, I've got nice small stars. That's what I'm wanting. I don't want these huge stars. Again, the toothbrush is going to give you the same effect. You run your finger across it, but don't use too much paint. So you see, you got a little galaxy. You can go in and even add this for an extra little effect. Hold on, let me get it. I have one of these white gel pens. I got a little dab of water on it here, so I'm gonna dab it off. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna take one of these stars, kind of make a little star there. The nice thing about this is it dries really quickly. So I'm making little plus signs. Some of the larger ones, you can make a little bit of a larger one and they can go in and make a little star out of it. Some people make stars like this, like that, and then they'll kind of fill them in like that. Something like that, and you can go through and make a couple other little plus signs here and there. See, you've got a galaxy. Super simple, used very little paint, but you can still see the pretty purples and blues and pinks throughout. Some people want to use green. You can use greens, teals. I've even got some teal over here. Oh my gosh, it would be so pretty. But like I might even touch just a little bit of it and just kind of see what it looks like, just for fun. I had this teal left over from a painting that I just colored the background. So literally see how dry that is. Go in, add a little bit. Go in and put a little more on here. See, we can even get a little more highlight in there. Get a little bit more depth happening. See, the possibilities are really endless. You can do whatever colors you want, but less is more. That's the key. You don't need as much paint as you think you're gonna need. So there's a little teal kind of popping in there. I'm even gonna add maybe a touch of this little green here. Got leftovers, why not, right? Literally, very little. Put a little green up in here. Bit right here. You're just kind of accentuating things. You're touching on them, but you're not covering them completely. Just going in and kind of accenting and highlighting. And you can go over the stars. It's not going to hurt anything because in reality, you've got clouds and things over top of stars. So it kind of looks a little more realistic. So there we go. And that's a really quick how to do a galaxy. Look how pretty that sponge is. All right, well, thank you for watching. I'm going to just kind of go in and add a couple little more plus sign stars. And then sign your name always. Be proud. Have a good day.